1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. Up to 9, 10, never sleep again. You're all my children now. I'm gonna get you. I'm John Renton with the retro view of A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, and thus the creation of one of the most iconic horror characters in modern horror history, Freddy Krueger. Knives for fingers, he'll get you in your dreams, and then he'll get you in subsequent sequels that led to some great humorous moments and also some bullshit and a lot of stories nobody really goddamn cared about until we got to Wes Craven's A New Nightmare in 1994. And then we got to Freddy vs. Jason. And then we got to, the next Nightmare on Elm Street, the reboot, that really wasn't all that good. Not the fault of anybody in the movie. It was just kind of absolutely written in such a shit way. But A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Yeah, okay, you could argue that some of the things haven't aged all that well, particularly the last scene with the obvious dummy being dragged through the door window. But a lot of great goddamn moments here. Also, the film debut of Johnny Depp. Because the daughter of Wes Craven thought he was so dreamy, if you'll see what I did there right there. No, that's according to the IMDb page. But yes, written and directed by Wes Craven, one of the modern masters of horror. The Scream franchise, at least the first 4, hence why I'm wearing this great Scream tee. And some other great movies, and some movies that didn't work out all that well. But Wes Craven understood horror, and this was proof of it. And also, you can thank this movie for saving New Line Cinema from bankruptcy, because with a $1.8 million budget, $5.3 million in today's money, $1.27 million opening, $3.7 million in today's money, and then you got a $25.6 million gross, and that's just basically 3 times that in today's money. Yeah, you can thank this for New Line Cinema bringing us other movies, including Mortal Wombat, Fight. So, yeah, Johnny Depp was in this. You have John Saxon, that I keep calling Saxton because I'm just weird. He plays Lieutenant, not Loco. We are not going to late-era WCW, Lieutenant Thompson. And then Marge Thompson, Ronnie Blakely. And then you also have Nancy Thompson, played by Heather Langenkamp. Tomorrow be, maybe I shouldn't say that right there. But yeah, Nancy, kind of seen, I guess, as one of the final girls, even though with the last scene, you're not really sure there was anybody, except there were a bunch of final victims. Kinda, maybe, sorta. Tina Gray was played by Amanda Wyss. Witty Wyss. And yes, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. And this movie, look, let's be perfectly honest. Like, as far as long-running franchises, the first one is usually the best. I would argue that Friday the 13th had better movies overall than this franchise, because a couple of the sequels weren't really that bad, but man, it just got flat out just nutty. Like, this at least had a more coherent story. And they used 500 gallons of fake blood. I wonder if you can guess where most of those went. And it took 32 days to film the damn thing. So Freddy is coming for you in your dreams. The dream police, they live inside of my head. The dream police, Freddy, will make you end up dead. The dream police, me. And I can't do the rest of the words because I forgot what the fuck it was. So, Knife meeting you. I'm going to be meeting you soon when I finish It Cuts Like a Knife, because Bryan Adams said such a thing. We have the credits playing over Tina having a dream being stuck in an industrial plant. Yeah, I always hate when credits play over my dreams in industrial plants while being chased by a maniac with knives for fingers, but nevertheless, Robert Englund made a goddamn career out of this. I mean, it's funny, though. He was in Urban Legend, and he's been in other stuff, and he's actually a pretty good actor, but he's had to basically retire from doing a lot of roles because he's got a bad neck, bad back, and gee, I wonder why. It could be age and could be some of the stunts that he did. So, from there, we have Glenn, played by Johnny Depp. We have Nancy, Tina, discussing their dreams. Freddy has come back. He has come back for blood because the parents of of various children didn't like that Freddy got off on a technicality after trapping a bunch of children and abusing them and doing a whole bunch of stuff that's mostly implied. A little bit of dialogue gives us a bit of an idea. He is now back for revenge because he's an evil son of a bitch. I mean, I don't understand why they ever tried to make him sympathetic a little bit later on, but nevertheless, they hint at enough subtle stuff as far as what's a dream and what's not. Mostly blue lighting actually kind of hints that it's really a dream, and also just the fog and the shit, because apparently fog only exists in dreams in this movie. But there are some pretty good scenes, like the part where Freddy stretches his arms out. Like, please, please God, this is God. And he cuts himself, or he cuts his fingers off, or cuts his, stomach, and maggots, and, Nickelodeon Gak comes out. Remember Gak? Does anybody remember Gak? I remember Gak. Used to have it. It really wasn't as great as advertised. And then Tina and Rod, her boyfriend, are sleeping together. Apparently, Rod lives up to his first name by ramrodding her. But Tina ends up getting caught in her dream and ends up getting slashed and diced and put up and doing hardcore parkour on the ceiling, and then she gets killed. But Rod is blamed because the door's locked, because they be fucking, I believe, as the kids used to say. And now Rod's on the run. Then Rod later attacks Nancy after Nancy basically says, hey, by the way, Rod didn't do it. I mean, he didn't do it, Dad. That's John Saxon, by the way. I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm going to terrorize you, basically, because he captures her in the bushes. That's always a great way to assuage any guilt that people might, think that you have. And Nancy is pissed at her cop dad. Rod is put in jail. Lynn Shay is in this from the Insidious movies. And you could basically close your eyes and tell. I mean, you would just have to hear the voice. She's a teacher. Doesn't look much different in 1984. Apparently, she was always perpetually 60 years old, but has a hell of a goddamn voice and a great line of acting roles. And then there's a guy named John wearing a stupid shirt. Hey, wait a second. Who's reading? I'm serious. That shirt looked like it was made by somebody who was created while the parents were on acid. That shirt is ridiculous. And I'm sorry to anybody that designs shirts like that, but seriously, find a better design to do. And then Tina shows up in, a body bag or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. She's being dragged away, and then the hall pass person's like, don't run in the halls. See, there's enough good imagery here and some very good practical effects. The thing is you don't necessarily care about the characters. And yeah, that's kind of slasher or horror movie 101. But in this one, they give you just enough to, I guess, sort of buy into Nancy. But Nancy's not the best final girl. I mean, she's a little bit smarter towards the end, but she's not as bad as the one in Freddy vs. Jason, let me say that much. But there's a giant boiler room in this school. Does a school need that big of a boiler room? Is it powering half the goddamn town? What is going on here? Yeah, but the Dream Police, I already said that right there. I did kind of find it funny how I kept thinking of that song. I just, there were no hookers here, no cheap tricks. That's mean. They deserve love too, and they will give you that love for a certain price every hour. So, the bathtub scene, absolutely great. Where the gloved hand reaches up and is going to slash her and everything, or give her a bad gynecological exam or whatever. No, I see it's okay when Freddy Krueger does this, and I do it, and I'm kicked out. But by the way, this is exactly how Whitney Houston and her daughter Bobby Christina ended. Oh, this review is going so goddamn well. Her rendition of Singing in the Bathtub was taken too literally. And I glug, 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 glug. Check out my review of Bodyguard and Volcano, by the way, if you want to, or The Bodyguard, that is, and see if you, can make it through the very, very bad intros. So, I did kind of like how Freddy jumped through the mirror. That was actually kind of goddamn cool. They tried to recreate that in another one of them, and it didn't necessarily work. But then, more people end up dying. We don't really we get the jail scene where where Rod gets hung by a sheet or whatever. Oh, sheet, he's dead. And then parents send Nancy to sleep study. She's in REM's right now, so stand in the place where you live and now face north. And think about what direction you want Freddy to come from. Yeah, I have to come up with a bunch of 80s references. I think that song actually came out in the late 80s, early 90s, but nevertheless. Freddy Krueger, his name is in the hat. So the mother finally has to explain they took vigilante justice upon him. To be fair, if he was doing all that stuff and assaulting children and killing them and mutilating them and doing various other kind of bad things, yeah, Freddy kind of deserved that. Kind of fucking deserved that. I did like the portable 80s TV, you know, the battery-operated TV where you could just have it on your bed and everything, as long as you had, like, enough batteries to basically stretch across the sun, then you were fine. Because I remember a friend having one of those. And, yeah, they took a lot of batteries. Depending on what kind, it would either take C batteries or D batteries. It would take the D, because most women in the 80s did. Let's move on from that. And guarantee, of course, that my audience stays predominantly male. No, really. The analytics, I think 1-2% are women, and that's saying something. So, bring him into the real world so Rob Thomas can hassle him, but also so they can beat him up and kill him and stuff like that. But then Johnny, or Glenn rather, falls asleep, and then he gets sucked into the very depths of his mattress. I'm sorry, I'm not. And then the blood fountain goes up and it's great stuff. It's great. See, the retro reviews like this require that you basically have seen the movie, because if you're trying to get a baseline on what actually happens, I pretty much stopped after the first minute. And then Nancy comes up with the brilliant idea to put gunpowder and bulbs and set a bunch of booby traps that was hinted at in one particular scene where she was reading a book. Bring Freddy into the world. She eventually does. This does kind of sort of take a bit. Half this movie was just people wandering around in dreams. I noticed that, or at least a good 40% of it. The traps kind of, damage him. He gets set on fire, and then the dad comes over. The cops come over. There's this point where Freddy's on fire, but on her bed, and then they put, John Saxon puts him out. And then it's the mother's body gets dragged down into the bed, except the mother seems... The mother's fine the next morning. Everything's fine, except when this convertible top comes up and it's Freddy Krueger in the color of Freddy Krueger's hat. And they're taken away while the girls are roping. Or rope jumping. However the fuck you say it. I hated jump rope. Goddamn hated it. And then you have the mother dragged through, or the mother's dummy, rather, dragged through the goddamn window. That looked really goddamn fake. That looked fake even for 1984. Oof. And then we would go on to do the other movies. No, I'm not going to end up retro-viewing the other Friday the 13th. I already did all those. But the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, I might eventually, but I have other projects to do. And also, I remember, maybe outside of the second one, we don't get any good ones until A New Nightmare. Maybe the one where the nun got cut up. I think, was that Dream Child? That might have been Dream Child. That being said, let me know your thoughts on A Nightmare on Elm Street in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. You're all my children now. See you soon.